Hi, Gig Harbor Church. Uh, Hello to you and from my family who's decided to join me with this church announcement this evening. I wanted to address and update each of you as to what has transpired over the last several days and even the last couple of weeks. In light of the president's announcement yesterday declaring houses of worship as essential, I figured it'd probably be a good idea to, rather than write a really long message, to just bring you a brief pastoral message to address both that and some of the things that are ruminating in my heart as we think about what it means for the coming days for our church community. I do want to express gratitude to the president for acknowledging houses of worship and as a part of this process. It has created a little bit of confusion as to where kind of authority lies and those kinds of things. But I do want to talk just briefly a little bit about what it means to not talk about reopening, but what it means to sort of be a people when we gather again together. The church has never been closed. The church is something that we are. It's a people. It's who we are. You hear me express that on a fairly regular basis, and just want to remind you again that the church has never been closed. We continue to be the church. The buildings in which we gather obviously are the places that have been closed, and that is what the president was addressing. But it's going to, over the coming days, I presume what we're going to see is sort of a legal battle over who has the authority to determine who can open or gather, who can determine what is essential. And I just wanted to let you know that from the get-go, my heart has constantly been not to make this a divisive political matter. It's something that we are participating in as the greatest commandment tells us, to love our neighbors. And I know that it's easy for us to capture news stories and stuff on social media that want to repost, that oftentimes what we repost is things that only affirm what we already think. And I just want to let you know I'm not going to be making decisions based upon what people post or opinions that people have. It's really important to me that we stay focused on the data, which I know it can easily get convoluted and misconstrued and add to part of the divisiveness and confusion that we find ourselves in. But the governor of the state has actually issued a four-phase plan that, with all intents and purposes, I have every desire to obey the laws of the land and respect those that are in authority over us as far as governing authorities. And so I know that Governor Inslee I haven't heard, has addressed anything that's pertained to what the president has announced. And so my plan as of right now is to continue to follow in the footsteps of the phased plans that the state has set out for us. And I know that our state is different than other states, and what other states may or may not be doing. Some states are probably participating in things that you wish we were doing, and others are not participating in things that you're glad that we're not doing. But in no way, shape, or form do I want this to be about confusion or something that constantly leads us to a place of hopelessness. My heart is to constantly think about the other. And in this case, there are people in our population that are vulnerable around us. And my heart is to think about those that are at risk and those that are vulnerable. And I'm not talking about numbers. I'm not talking about any of that. I just want us to be a people that have a heart for our neighbor and to be the best neighbor that we can be. And if that means that we aren't meeting in a building to worship the Lord for a period of time, I'm perfectly okay with that. We have a couple weeks ago, the church board met. I've written up in partnership with the four-phase plan, a suggestion that was nothing that was set in stone, but something that I began a conversation with the leadership of the church as to what this could look like in the coming days for us. It's in partnership with what I think aligns with the governor's phasing in type of plans that we're dealing with. But I just want to let you know that nothing has been officially set in stone. I wanted to get out in front of it a little bit to create a dialogue, knowing that things will be changing. I didn't put dates on our regathering plan in any way, shape, or form. And so opening and having worship in the building again it's not just a matter of just saying, well, everybody show up and we'll see you on Sunday. There's just when we are actually gathering in that building, there's a lot of planning, a lot of details that go into making it possible for us to worship together. The same is true about the situation that we find ourselves in, is that there's a lot of pieces that have to happen and pieces that will have to take place in order for that to become a reality. Those are part of the conversations that I'm currently having with the church board. They have in front of them the document that I set out, and I am working in partnership with them, asking them to think and pray with us as we dream about what this can mean in the future. Then, with all the details that it takes to get the building ready for us to gather and worship together, there's obviously going to be some significant changes that are going to be a part of what it means for us to gather again. Cleaning on a regular basis, the hours and times of our worship services may change. Whether we have children or not children may be dictated based upon the Washington Health State Department and our particular county here in Pierce County and what that means. And so with that, I don't want to in any way, shape, or form take the voice away of our people. And so with several colleagues in ministry across different states, both within this state and outside of this state, I've been looking at what they are doing. I've been listening to our district superintendent, Jerry Kester, and some of the input that he's provided and set forth for us. And I just want to remind you and remind me, is that let's be careful about the words that we use. Let's be careful again about the labels that we place. Let's be careful not to slander one another. That's not who we're called to be as the people of God. We're constantly reminded to love one another, and oftentimes to love one another doesn't mean that we isolate people. It means that we love everybody, and we're not going to. I want to give each of you, an opportunity to have a voice in this process alongside of us. And so next Tuesday, I'm going to be sending out a survey, an all-church survey, that I invite you and really earnestly ask you to participate in. This is hopefully going to be gathering the data for what you're thinking. It'll be an opportunity to contribute your voice in a way that helps us think about what it means for us to gather again when that is actually allowed. I want to use the data and the voices of our own church people to use that in the coming days in our June board meeting. And I really do encourage you to take the time to do that. We will send it out via email. We'll also send it out via text message as well. And we invite you to just check on that link. And it'll take about 7 minutes for you to get through. It won't take very long. And that will greatly help us gather and give you an opportunity to use your voice to give us information that we can use to chew on as we think about the future and the coming days. I just want to let you know, I deeply love you. I pray for you regularly. I jokingly say I never really took a class on any of this in seminary, and so I know that there's going to be decisions that are going to be made in the coming days that many of you won't like. Some of you, and my heart is to not be divisive. I really do encourage you to pray for me and for our church leadership. These are difficult days for us. We know that complexity is a part of this process. And I long for the day when we can actually worship together again in person. A few weeks ago, just for some of you to know, Pastor Bob and I went to the sanctuary and measured out 6 feet within our own building to see how many chairs we could actually fit if we spread out 6 feet all over the place. We went from about 180 chairs down to about 27. And so even in phase 3, when they're allowing groups of less than 50, this means it has implications for us. We had a congregant go back through and put them in pairs to kind of see if we could create some more space. It looks like the most that we can probably get is about 43 in there. And if we're not allowed to have children's ministry, that just adds another layer for us. And so please, please, please take that survey. Help us hear you so that can be a part of our conversation in our June board meeting. I look forward to worshiping with you tomorrow. Thanks be to God that we are the church. It's not been closed. We continue to be the church. My prayers are with you. Continue to pray for us. And let's be reminded that our allegiance is to King Jesus, first and foremost, the center of all that we are called to be Christ be with you. You are loved.
End the recording.
Yes, I just don't know where it saves. Is the problem.
I'm gonna watch it first.